Okay, let's unpack this. You ever pick up an old book, maybe something really dense, and you just feel like there are codes hidden just under the surface?
Oh, definitely. Like the text itself is more than just words on a page.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like it is the code for something much, much bigger, maybe something cosmic. That's the sort of intricate system we're diving into today. It's that feeling, of peeling back layers you didn't even realize were there.
It's a perspective you find in a lot of ancient traditions, really. This idea that profound divine stuff, energies,
Hmm.
structures,
Hmm.
they aren't just talked about in sacred language. They're actually like built into the letters, the verses, waiting to be found if you know how to look.
Precisely. And that's what this deep dive is all about. We take the source material, these texts, the research, the notes you shared, and we try to pull out those core ideas, those surprising little details, the stuff that makes you go, aha, and helps you get a handle on something complex without feeling totally lost.
Yeah, making it accessible but without losing the depth.
So today we're tackling something really intricate. It's often called the 72-fold name of God. In Hebrew, the Shem Ha-Mephoresch.
And our whole exploration today, it's important to stress, is based only on the excerpts provided in this specific text we have, titled Shem Ha-Mephoresch.pdf.
Right. No outside interpretation, just what's in this document.
Exactly. And this source lays out a remarkably detailed, almost like a step-by-step system for understanding and figuring out this name and all the powers it says are connected to it.
So the goal for you listening is to really grasp this particular system just as this text presents it. We want to see how it says the 72-fold name comes about, the really fascinating links it makes to divine powers, angelic forces, and all the rich symbolic meaning, especially how it ties into bigger spiritual ideas within the source.
It's a deep dive into a very specific mystical framework. It uses numbers, letters, scriptural interpretation, all to kind of map divine reality onto the cosmos and even onto, well, human spiritual growth.
Okay, so get ready to explore with us. We're going to take this complex system and lay it out piece by piece straight from the source text.
All right, so where do we start? The very beginning, the foundation of this whole system according to the text. It kicks off by mentioning some really fundamental divine names. There's YHVH, the Tetragrammaton.
Yeah.
That's sacred four-letter name in Hebrew tradition.
Yes, and right away it brings in AD and I, also a really significant divine name, usually translated as Lord. But the text doesn't just list them side by side. It says something specific about their relationship.
What's that?
It says AD and I is the representative and key of YHVH, and that it's bound with the former and united thereto.
Representative and key. Huh. That sounds like AD and I has a specific job to do related to YHVH in this system, not just another name.
Exactly. It's like it unlocks something about YHVH, and they're bound and united.
So how does the text show that union, like visually or structurally?
It shows them combined, interwoven, really. They form a single name with 8 letters. I-A-H-D-V-N-H-Y. I-A-H-D-V-N-H-Y. Okay, I can see the letters of Y-H-V-H and AD and I kind of alternating or mixed in there.
That's it. And this 8-letter name, I-H-A-D-V-N-H-Y, the union of YHVH and AD and I is the starting point. The text basically says this is the springboard for getting to the number 72.
Okay, so how does it make that leap from an 8-letter name to the number 72?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. The source brings in this symbolic calculation, and it connects it to a specific vision from Scripture. It links this 8-letter name directly to the 24 thrones of the elders of the apocalypse.
Ah, the elders from the book of Revelation around the throne.
Those are the ones. The text references them directly, and it adds this detail. Each of these 24 elders wears on his head a golden crown of 3 rays.
3 rays on each crown. Okay, so 8 letters, 24 elders, 3 rays. How does the math work in the text?
Okay, so here's the first part of the calculation, exactly as the source puts it. It says 8x3, the number of the supernal triad, yields the 24 thrones of the elders of the apocalypse.
Wait, 8 times 3, the 8 letters of the name times 3. And it calls 3 the number of the supernal triad, maybe like some higher divine principles?
That seems to be the implication, yes. So 8 letters times this symbolic 3 equals the 24 elders.
Okay, 8 times 3 is 24. That calculation makes sense as presented, but that only gets us to 24. How do we get to 72?
Right. There's a second step. The text makes another link. It then says the number 24 of the thrones multiplied by the 3 rays of the crown, which equals 72, the name of God of 72 letters, which is thus mystically shown in the name YHVH.
Hold on. So it takes the 24 elders, And multiplies by 3 again. The 3 representing the rays on their crowns this time.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
24 elders times 3 rays per crown.
24 times 3, that's 72. Okay, so that's how the source connects the 24 elders and their crowns directly to the number 72.
Yes, that's the symbolic chain of math it presents. The 8-letter name, the threefold divine thing, the 24 elders with their 3 rayed crowns, it all points towards 72. And the text explicitly says this 72 is mystically shown in the name YHVH through this whole process.
Wow, okay. That's a key insight right there, isn't it? According to this source, the number 72 isn't just random, it's symbolically baked into the fundamental divine name YHVH and its relationship to these, like, emanations, the elders.
And it immediately pulls in that quote from Revelation to really hammer the point home.
Which passage is that?
It cites Revelation chapter 4, the part where the living creatures and the 24 elders fall down before him and cast their crowns before the throne.
Right, and the source gives a really specific interpretation of that vision, doesn't it?
It does. It says that the crowns, which each bear 3 of the 72 names, and these 72 names, are written on the leaves of the tree of life, which were for the healing of the nations.
Whoa. Okay, that connects everything. It takes that symbolic math, 8 to 24 to 72, and links it directly to really powerful images. The elders' crowns, the number 72 itself, and the healing leaves of the tree of life from the end of Revelation.
It makes a massive connection right at the start. It also throws in a quick mention that these names are on Jacob's ladder, linking them to that whole idea of connection between heaven and earth, the divine, and the angelic.
So the system starts by setting up 72 as this deeply significant number, rooted in YHVH and 80 and I, symbolically calculated through the elders and their crowns, and ultimately representing these fundamental forces for healing the leaves of the cosmic tree. That's a pretty profound foundation, you know. It establishes 72 not just as a number, but as like a key to understanding divine power made manifest, and it offers healing.
It definitely sets the stage. These names aren't just labels. They're active parts of the divine machinery, according to this text.
Okay, so we've seen the sort of mystical math that gets us to 72 and links it to YHVH and cosmic symbols, but how does the source actually generate the specific 72 names, those 3-letter words you mentioned?
Right. This is where it shifts from the symbolic to something very, very practical, almost like a recipe. The source provides a precise method using Scripture itself.
Our recipe from Scripture, how does that work?
This is maybe one of the most surprising parts of this system, as the source describes it. It points us to a very specific spot in the Bible, the book of Exodus chapter 14, specifically verses 19, 20, and 21.
Exodus 14, verses 19, 20, 21. Okay, that's right in the thick of it. The Israelites at the Red Sea, the pillar of cloud and fire, the darkness for the Egyptians, Moses splitting the sea.
Exactly that moment. And the source makes this crucial foundational claim about these 3 verses. It says each one of them consists of 72 letters.
Each one. Verse 19 has 72 letters, verse 20 has 72, and verse 21 has 72. In the original Hebrew, presumably.
That's what the text asserts, yes. This is presented as the raw material, the literal pool of letters that the 72 names are going to be drawn from.
72 letters each. Wow, that's incredibly specific. Seems like something you wouldn't just notice reading the story. Can you give us the English translations the source provides? Just so we know what verses we're talking about.
Sure. The source gives these.
And the angel of the Elohim that went before the camp of Israel removed and went behind them, and the pillar of cloud removed from before them and stood behind them. So that's the divine presence, the angel or the pillar, moving to protect the Israelites' rear.
Okay. Verse 20.
Verse 20. And it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel. And it was a cloud and darkness to the first, but it gave light by night to these, and the one came not near unto the other all the night. This is describing what the pillar did, separating them, bringing darkness to one side, light to the other.
Got it. And verse 21.
Verse 21. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord drove back the sea with a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea dry land, and the waters divided. The main event, the actual parting of the Red Sea.
Okay, so 3 specific verses, each claim to have exactly 72 letters. How does the source take these 3 lines of 72 letters and turn them into 72 separate names?
This is where the procedure, the how-to, is really key. The text says you have to write these 3 verses at length, one above the other. So imagine verse 19 on the top line, verse 20 on the line below it, and verse 21 on the bottom line with the letters all lined up.
All right, picturing it. 3 stacked rows, 72 letters long each. But you mentioned a twist, something about the direction.
Absolutely crucial twist. This is the really unique part of the method. The source specifies the direction you write each line. The first from right to left, and the second from left to right, and the third from right to left.
Whoa, okay, so verse 19, right to left, like Hebrew. verse 20 left to right like English, and then verse 21 right to left again. That alternating direction is vital.
It's presented as absolutely essential. And think about what happens when you do that.
Okay, 3 rows of 72 letters stacked, alternating directions.
Because each verse has exactly 72 letters, writing them that way creates 72 columns of 3 letters each.
Columns?
Well, the first letter of verse 19, reading right to left. The first letter of verse 20, reading left to right. So actually the last letter written. And the first letter of verse 21, reading right to left, will form the first vertical column of 3 letters.
Ah, I see. So for the first name, you take the first letter of verse 1, the last letter of verse 2, and the first letter of verse 3.
That seems to be how it works out with the alternating directions, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Then the second letter from verse 1, the second to last from verse 2, and the second from verse 3 form the second column, the second name. And you do that all the way across for 72 columns.
Okay, that alternating direction is what mixes the letters up vertically to create those specific 3-letter combinations. The text is very precise about that.
Very precise.
And the result, these 72 columns of 3 letters.
The text sums it up. Each column will give a word of 3 letters, and there will be 72 names of 3 letters each, which are the Shem Ha-Mephoresch, or 72 names of the deity, expounding the powers of the name YHVH.
Wow. Okay, let me get this straight. According to this source, the 72 3-letter names are literally built letter by letter from these 3 specific Exodus verses, using this very particular stacking and alternating direction method.
That's the claim.
So the power of the Shem Ha-Mephoresch, the power that parted the Red Sea, it's not just talked about in the story. The source says it's encoded in the very letters of the verses describing it.
That's a really striking idea, isn't it? That Scripture itself is seen as a living structure. You can analyze it, manipulate it in specific ways, and reveal these deeper divine truths hidden within.
It's like the divine force left its signature, its actual components, embedded in the text. And these 72 names, once you extract them this way, are said to expound the powers of the name YHVH. They're the specific facets or expressions of that ultimate divine name. That's incredible.
It really emphasizes a view where the form of the text is just as significant as the story it tells. It holds these latent structures waiting for the right key. And in this case, the key is this very precise method of extraction.
Okay, so we've seen how the source claims to derive these 72 foundational 3-letter names of the deity straight from Exodus. What's the next step in the process laid out in the text? It moves on to angelic names, right? Because these 72 are often talked about as angels.
Yes, exactly. And the process is quite straightforward. It's additive. The text explains that the angelic names are created simply by the addition of suffixes to those 3-letter deity names we just derived.
Suffixes, like endings added to the name.
Precisely. And it gives us 2 very specific suffixes, and importantly, it tells us what they mean within this system.
Okay, what are they?
The first suffix is YH, often pronounced something like Yah or Yahoo. The source states this suffix signifies mercy and beneficence.
YH means mercy and beneficence.
Yeah.
Got it. And the second one?
The second suffix is AL, and the source tells us this one signifies severity and judgment.
AL for severity and judgment. So every single one of those 72 3-letter deity names gets either YH or AL tacked on to the end.
That's the method described.
That really clarifies the nature of these angels then, doesn't it? They're seen as embodying either divine mercy or divine severity, as specific expressions of God's power.
Exactly, it structures them. And the text points out the resulting difference in length. Each angel's name containing 5 letters and each name of deity 3. Makes sense, adding a 2-letter suffix, YH or AL, to a 3-letter name gives you 5 letters.
The text also includes a short, sort of cryptic quote here, and the name is in him, etc. What do you think that refers to in this context of adding suffixes?
Well, considering that the suffixes themselves are derived from divine names, YH is part of YHVH, and AL is a name for God, and you're adding them to names that expound the powers of YHVH, that, quote, and the name is in him, strongly suggests that the divine essence, the name, is considered to be present within these angelic beings.
Ah, so the angels aren't totally separate things. They're like vessels or extensions of divine power, specifically carrying either the mercy aspect or the judgment aspect.
That seems to be the idea presented. They're representatives stamped with one of those primary divine qualities. This process of adding suffixes isn't just about making longer names, it's theological. It defines the core quality of each angel within this system.
It structures the whole angelic realm, linking it right back to the core attributes of God as mercy and judgment. Each angel becomes a specific blend. the root power from the three-letter name, plus one of those primary modes of divine action.
A very systematic way of categorizing these emanations.
So now we have 72 five-letter angelic names, each embodying either mercy or severity. Where does the source go next? How are these angels organized? You mentioned astrology earlier.
Yes, this is where the system gets really detailed in mapping these angels onto the cosmos, specifically the zodiac. The text states, these 72 angels rule over the 72 quinances, or sets of 50 of the zodiac.
Okay, quinances are sets of 50. Let's pause there for a second, because the zodiac circle is 360 degrees. If you divide 360 by 72 angels, you get 5, right? 72 times 5 is 360. So even though the text says sets of 50, mathematically, for it to cover the whole zodiac with 72 angels, it must mean divisions of 5 degrees each, mustn't it? Like maybe 50 was a typo or a different way of counting.
That's almost certainly the case. While the source text does say 50, the context, 72 divisions of a 360-degree circle, points directly to 5-degree segments. It seems we should understand it as each angel ruling a specific 5-degree slice of the zodiac.
Okay, that makes sense. Each angel gets its own little 5-degree patch of cosmic real estate. Does the text break it down further?
It does. It relates these 5-degree quinances to the decanates. It says each decanate or set of 100 of a sign has 2 quinances.
Okay, same thing there likely. The decanate is traditionally 10 degrees of a sign, so a set of 100 probably means 10 degrees. And yet, 2 5-degree quinances fit perfectly into one 10-degree decanate. 2 times 5 is 10.
Precisely. And then it completes the picture for a sign. Each sign has 3 decanates, which works out. 3 decanates times 10 degrees each is 30 degrees per sign.
And 12 signs times 30 degrees each is 360 degrees. It all fits. The whole zodiac is covered.
The text also adds that these decanates are allotted to the planets in regular order, meaning each 10-degree chunk within a sign is linked to a specific planet in a traditional sequence. So the 2 angels ruling the 5-degree segments within that decanate also fall under that planet's influence.
Wow, okay, so every single one of the 72 angels gets a unique cosmic address, a specific sign, specific 5-degree range within that sign, and it's linked to the ruling planet of the 10-degree decanator falls into. That's incredibly specific.
But it doesn't stop there. The text also classifies these angels into larger groups.
More groupings.
Yes. First, they are classed into 9 sets of 8, and each set answering to the 9 choirs of angels. So it's linking these 72 into the traditional angelic hierarchies, seraphim, cherubim, thrones, etc., integrating them into that larger celestial order.
9 sets of 8 is 72. Okay. And another classification.
A very significant one linking back to the core divine name. They are also divided into 4 great divisions of 18 each. 4 times 18 is also 72.
And these 4 big divisions relate to?
They are directly mapped onto the 4 letters of the name YHVH, the Tetragrammaton. The source says each division is under the presidency of one of the 4 letters of the name YHVH.
Yod, He, Vav, He. And these divisions, presided over by the letters of the name, are they linked to anything else, like elements?
Exactly. They're linked to the elemental triplicities of the zodiac. The text lays it out very clearly.
Okay, break it down for us.
The first division, 18 angels under Yod Y, governs the fiery triplicity. That's Aries, Leo, Sagittarius.
Makes sense. Yod, often linked to fire or spirit.
The second division, 18 angels under the first He H, governs the watery triplicity Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. The text specifically notes Cancer as being headed by this division.
Often linked to water or emotion. Okay.
The third division, 18 angels under Vow, governs the airy triplicity Libra, Aquarius, Gemini, and it points out Libra as being headed by this one.
Vow linked to air or intellect.
And the fourth division, the last 18 angels under the final He, H final, governs the earthy triplicity, Capricorn, Taurus, Virgo, with Capricorn noted as being headed by this division.
And the final He is often linked to earth or manifestation.
Wow. And the source emphasizes that the most powerful rule of each letter of YHVH is over its particular triplicity.
So this mapping is just incredibly thorough. The 72 angels aren't just abstract ideas. According to this source, they are specific emanations of divine power. They're categorized by mercy or judgment. They're assigned to every single 5-degree segment of the cosmos via the zodiac. They're influenced by planets, grouped into traditional angelic choirs, and ultimately governed by one of the 4 letters of YHVH and its element. It's a complete top-down framework.
It absolutely is. It presents his view where the heavens, the elements, the angelic hierarchies, they're all expressions of the power of YHVH, channeled through these 72 specific forces or angels, divine governance mapped onto astrology and elements.
Okay, this is all fascinating structure, but to really get a feel for it, we need some examples. The source actually lists all 72, right? With all the
It
details.
does, provides a full catalog.
Right.
For every single one of the 72, it gives the angel's 5-letter name, the zodiac sign and planet it rules, that specific 5-degree range, what the angel's name means, and then it gives an associated psalm or biblical passage that supposedly connects to that meaning. It's quite extensive.
Perfect. Walking through a few examples should really show how all these pieces, the name, the cosmic slot, the meaning, the scripture, actually fit together in this system. Let's look at the first few, the ones assigned to Leo that you mentioned earlier.
Good idea. So kicking off the entire list, angel number 1 is Vahuia. V-A-H-U-I-A-H.
Okay, Vahua. Where does it sit?
It's placed in Leo, covering the very beginning, 0 to 5 degrees. The planet associated with this first decade of Leo is Saturn.
And the meaning given for Vahoya?
God the Exalter.
God the Exalter.
And the scripture link.
Psalm 3, verse 4 in this text. And thou, Tetragrammaton, art a shield about me, my glory, and he who lifteth up my head.
Ah, he who lifteth up my head. That connects pretty directly to God the Exalter, doesn't it?
It does. Okay, angel number 2 is Yellow Willie. Y-E-L-A-U-I-E-L.
Yellow Yell, also Leo.
Still Leo the next 5 degrees, so 5 to 10 degrees. The planet is still Saturn for this part of the decade.
And meaning.
Simply strength.
Strength and the psalm.
Psalm 22, verse 20. And thou, Tetragrammaton, be not far off, azure my strength, to help me make haste.
Wow, this song actually uses the word strength right there in the plea. Can't get much more direct than that. Okay, number 3.
Number 3 is Satiel. S-A-T-I-E-L, Leo again, degrees 10 to 15. Now, the planet ruling this decade shifts, according to the traditional order, to Jupiter.
Satiel under Jupiter, meaning.
The meaning is refuge, fortress, confidence.
Refuge, fortress, confidence, and song.
Psalm 91, verse 2. I will say unto Tetragrammaton, my refuge and fortress, my God, I will be confident in him.
Again, all those key words, refuge, fortress, confident, are right there in the verse. It's a clear pattern. Number 4.
Fourth is Ngelaiah, N-G-H-E-L-A-I-A-H, Leo, 15 to 20 degrees, still under Jupiter.
Ngelaiah, what's his meaning?
Concealed saving.
Concealed saving. And the verse.
Psalm 6, verse 5 is cited. Return 0 Tetragrammaton, deliver my soul, save me because of thy mercy. The word save connects pretty neatly to saving.
Makes sense. Number 5.
Fifth is Mahaziah, M-A-H-A-S-I-I-H, Leo, 20 to 25 degrees. Now, the planetary influence shifts to Mars for this decade.
Messiah under Mars, meaning.
Seeking safety from trouble.
Seeking safety from trouble, and the psalm.
Source gives Psalm 34, verse 5. I sought Tetragrammaton, and he answered me, and out of all my fears, he delivered me.
Being delivered from fears.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely fits with seeking and finding safety from trouble. Okay, one more from Leo, number 6.
Number 6 is Leilahel, L-E-L-A-H-L. Leo, the last 5 degrees, 25 to 30, still under Mars.
Leilahel, meaning.
Praiseworthy declaring.
Praiseworthy declaring.
Yeah.
And the scripture.
Psalm 9, verse 12. Sing songs unto Tetragrammaton, who inhabiteth, show forth among the nations his deeds.
Singing psalms, showing forth deeds, those are absolutely acts of praise and declaration. It's remarkable how consistently the source text finds a verse that seems to contain the very essence, sometimes the exact words, of the angel's meaning.
It really is striking. It shows a deliberate effort to ground these attributed powers in Scripture. It's not presented as arbitrary.
No, it reinforces that idea that these meanings and powers are seen as derived from, or at least reflected in, the biblical text itself. And this same pattern, this detailed listing, continues for all 72 angels, right?
Correct. All 72 have their sign, degrees, planet, meaning, and Scripture link laid out.
Let's maybe look at one or two from different signs to see the variety. You mentioned Angel 70 earlier.
Yes, Angel 70. That's Yebamiah, Y-E-B-A-M-A-I-H.
Yebamiah. Where is this one?
This one's over in the sign of Cancer, covering degrees 15 to 20. And the planet listed for this decade is Mercury.
Cancer, under Mercury, and Yebamiah's meaning.
The meaning is producing by his word.
Producing by his word. Okay, that sounds pretty fundamental. What's the scripture? Is it a psalm?
Interestingly, no. For this one, the source gives a passage from Genesis. Genesis 1.1.21, in the beginning, Elohim created the substance of the heavens and the substance of the earth.
Wow. Genesis 1.1, the ultimate act of creation by divine speech. Producing by his word. That connection is powerful.
It shows the source wasn't limited just to Psalms. It drew connections from other parts of Scripture where they fit the meaning. And the range of meanings across all 72 is just huge. You get abstract qualities like strength or mercy, but also really active functions like turning away evil, building things, supporting the fallen, or even titles like Celestial King, Lord of Virtues, God who hears the afflicted. It covers a lot of ground.
And like we saw in those examples, the constant reference to tetragrammaton in the Psalms cited really anchors all these diverse angelic forces back to the core divine name, YHVH. They're presented as specific emanations or expressions of that name's power. The source basically provides a complete map, weaving together divine attributes, angelic roles, cosmic influences like the zodiac and planets, and scripture into one integrated system through these 72 names.
It really is a comprehensive way, within this particular tradition anyway, of viewing the universe as this complex, divinely run structure. With these 72 distinct forces or angels overseeing all the parts, each reflecting a specific aspect of God's power.
We touched on this link earlier, but let's really dive back into the symbolic connections the source makes, particularly connecting the Shem Ha-Mephoresch, these 72 names, back to the tree of life imagery in the book of Revelation. That seemed really important.
It's central to the deeper meaning presented, yes. The text brings us back to that powerful image from Revelation 22 describing the New Jerusalem. Can I read that bit again?
Please do.
And on either side of the river was there the tree of life, which bare 12 manner of fruits, and yielded her fruit every month. And the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. And there shall be no more curse, but the throne of God and of the Lamb shall be in it.
Such a potent image. And the source gives a very specific mystical reading of this, doesn't it? How does it interpret the fruits and the leaves?
Okay, so the 12 manner of fruits yielded every month. The text says these answer to the signs of the zodiac and the 12 tribes of the sons of Jacob, also to the 12 apostles. It sees these different sets of 12 as corresponding, representing layers of cosmic or spiritual structure.
Okay, the 12s match up. But the crucial part for us is the leaves, right? What about the leaves?
This is the absolute key link for our topic. The text states, explicitly, the healing leaves are those of Shem Ha-Mephoresch, or the divided name of Zaur Anpin, the microprosopis, the Christ, the Lamb of Elohim whose throne is in the tree.
Whoa, okay, let's break that down because that is packed with meaning. It's directly saying the 72 leaves of the tree, the ones for healing the nations, are the 72 names of the Shem Ha-Mephoresch.
Exactly. An explicit identification.
And then equates these name sleeves with some major mystical concepts. Zaur Anpin, what is that roughly?
In Kabbalah, Zaur Anpin often means the lesser countenance or the manifested face of God, the divine in expression, often associated with the 6 Sephirot from Chiz to Yesod.
Okay, and microprosopis.
A similar concept, often used interchangeably. It represents the divine in manifestation, sometimes linked to the image of the archetypal human or the sun.
And then it explicitly says the Christ, the Lamb of Elohim, and the throne of these aspects is in the tree.
So the 72 names aren't just, angels ruling bits of the zodiac. In the symbolic interpretation, they are the very substance or energy, the leaves of the manifested divine. Zaur Anpin, microprosopis, Christ, Lamb, that resides within this cosmic tree of life, and their purpose is explicitly stated for the healing of the nations. That's a huge statement about what these names are for.
It really elevates them, doesn't it? From a list of divine aspects to active healing forces that embody God in manifestation in the redemptive aspect. And the source doesn't stop there. It weaves this into a larger symbolic story involving Jacob.
Yes, it finds another connection to 72. It notes the number of the family of Jacob's sons is 70, and Jacob and Joseph equals 72.
Huh? So adding Jacob himself and Joseph to the 70 brings it to 72. It's like grounding the mystical number 72 in that key biblical family narrative.
Seems to be the idea. And this narrative continues, focusing on Jacob's 12 sons going down into Egypt. But the source reads this whole journey symbolically.
How so? What does Egypt represent here?
It says Egypt represents the kingdom, Malkuth, which has been destroyed in the fall, and cut from the Sephirotic tree by the intersecting folds of the great dragon who then becomes its ruler.
Okay, more heavy symbolism. It's pulling in Kabbalistic ideas. Malkuth, the lowest sphere on the tree of life, usually representing the physical world, our reality.
Right. And in this interpretation, Malkuth, the kingdom, is seen as having undergone a fall. It's become separated, cut off from the rest of the divine tree of emanations, and this fallen state isn't empty, it's ruled by an opposing force, symbolized as the great dragon.
The dragon. Like evil.
That's the strong implication. The source even quotes scripture about the great dragon that lieth in the midst of the rivers, tying the symbolic dragon to the ruling power in Egypt implicitly, Pharaoh.
So the Israelites going down into Egypt becomes a symbol for what? Divine starks or potential, represented by Jacob's family, linked to the 72, descending into this fallen, corrupted state of physical reality, which is ruled by this opposing dragon force.
That's the picture it paints. And within this symbolic descent, Joseph and his two tribes, Ephraim and Manasseh, have a specific role to play.
What role is that?
The text says Joseph and his tribes go down first and balance each other in Chesed and Geburah.
Chesed and Geburah, mercy and severity again. The two qualities linked to the angel name suffixes.
Exactly. So this suggests that the first divine forces to really enter this fallen Egyptian state, Malkuth, are these balanced powers of mercy and judgment carried by Joseph's lineage. They are the initial divine presence entering the desolated earth, as the text calls it.
And there's a specific connection made to Ephraim, isn't there? Something about an animal symbol.
Yes. The source links Ephraim to the cherubic sign of the ox. The cherubs, or cherubim, are often associated with the four elements or fixed signs of the zodiac, and the ox or bull is typically linked to earth.
Okay, Ephraim is the ox, representing earth, and then...
The ox is then described as the natural ruler of earth in Malkuth, under the power of H final of the holy name, the bride, Eve, and the queen.
Wow, that weaves together a lot. Ephraim, the ox symbol, earth, rulership in the material world, Malkuth, the final letter of YHVH, hey, final, often associated with Malkuth, and these archetypal feminine figures, the bride, Eve, the queen, also often linked symbolically to Malkuth, or the receptive aspect of creation.
It presents Ephraim and the ox as these key forces operating within the fallen earthly realm, but still connected to specific divine principles and aspects of the name.
And the Shem Ha-Mephoresch, the 72 names, are somehow situated within this whole symbolic drama linked to Jacob's family, participating in this descent into an operation within the fallen Malkuth Egypt. The source also sets up some symbolic contrasts here, right?
It does. It contrasts the apocalyptic symbol of the lamb, which had already linked to the 72 names, Zawer, Anpin, Christ, with the evil symbol of the dragon. And it specifically notes that the Aries sign, which leads off the Shem Ha-Mephoresch, is Chesed.
Aries sign. That would be Libra, the first sign governed by the vowed division of the name.
Seems likely, yes. So it's linking the 72 names, or at least a key part of them, to the quality of Chesed mercy. And it explicitly says this mercy is one opposed to the evil symbol of the dragon. Mercy fights the dragon, essentially.
Okay, and it connects us back to the actual situation in Egypt with animal symbols again.
Yes, it brings up the biblical detail that every shepherd, an abomination to the Egyptians, who yet are friendly with the ox symbol, the cherubic ruler of earth.
So it's contrasting the shepherd, maybe symbolically linked to the lamb, though it doesn't spell that out, with the ox, Ephraim, the earth ruler, who the Egyptians are okay with.
And the source draws this really bold symbolic conclusion from all this. It interprets a specific statement the Israelites make in Genesis about what they do for a living. It says, "Therefore is it symbolically said by the children of Israel that their business has been about cattle and not about sheep."
Ah. It's saying that line from Genesis isn't just about farming. It's a symbol reflecting this deeper struggle. Their business is cattle. The ox, Ephraim, relating to the fallen earth kingdom, acceptable to the Egyptians' dragon force, while sheep, perhaps linked to the lamb, mercy, the Shem Ha-Mephoresch, are an abomination to the powers ruling this fallen realm. That's intricate.
It's a very layered interpretation, reading deep symbolic meaning into narrative details. It even throws in another specific detail, that Hadar, one of the Edomite kings mentioned in Genesis, corresponds symbolically to the ruling pharaoh within this whole interpretive structure.
It really is a complex tapestry. It connects the 72 names, not just to divine powers and stars, but weaves them into this incredibly rich symbolic story of creation, fall, redemption, the interplay between divine forces, mercy, severity, lamb, and opposing forces dragging within the material world, Malkuth Egypt, all read through Kabbalistic ideas and scriptural symbols.
Absolutely. A whole symbolic narrative built around these names.
So let's step back for a moment. We've gone through all this incredible detail, based purely on what this source text presents. Why would someone immerse themselves in this? What's the significance, the purpose, the application of understanding the Shem Ha-Mephoresch, according to this document?
Well, at the most fundamental level, the source keeps repeating that the 72 names expound the powers of the name YHVH. So their primary significance is offering a detailed map of how God's power manifests and operates in the world. They aren't just vague ideas. They're specific energetic functions or aspects of the divine.
And this manifestation isn't just abstract. It directly impacts the cosmos, right? The system shows these names embodied by angels ruling specific slices of the zodiac.
Exactly. So understanding these angels and their names, according to this source, is a way to understand the divine forces that govern astrological energies and influences. It connects the divine name directly to cosmic operations.
And then there's that powerful connection to the tree of life. Identifying the 72 names as the healing leaves, in the context of Revelation and the fallen Malkuth, that suggests a purpose related to healing or restoration, doesn't it?
It strongly suggests a potential application in spiritual healing, maybe restoring balance or working with these forces to counteract the negative effects of this fall in the world. Their role is active and redemptive in that symbolism.
Plus, they're tied into those core qualities of mercy and severity and woven into that whole symbolic drama of the fall into Egypt, Malkuth, the lamb versus the dragon, the ox and the sheep. Understanding the names seems key to understanding the spiritual dynamics of reality as presented in this source, the state of the world and the forces at play within it.
Right, but perhaps one of the most revealing clues about the intended application comes right at the very end of the list of the 72 angels in the source text. There's a specific note.
Oh, what does it say?
It states, very specifically, the seals of these are addressed to the Zealiter Adeptus Minor.
Zealiter Adeptus Minor. Now that sounds specific. That's not just general theological language. That's a grade, isn't it? A level of initiation in certain, Western esoteric traditions, like the Golden Dawn.
Exactly. That term is very particular. By saying that the seals of these names, which would likely be specific symbols, diagrams, maybe talismans, or even methods of invocation associated with each name used in ritual or meditation, are addressed to initiates at that specific grade, the source reveals something crucial.
What's that?
It reveals that this entire complex system of the Shem Ha-Mephoresch, as it's presented here, isn't just abstract knowledge. It's likely part of a specific curriculum, a path of practical spiritual training.
Ah. So the significance isn't purely intellectual understanding, it's practical and initiatory. The application of this system, according to this source, lies within a framework of structured mystical or maybe even magical work, where people at a certain level of training would learn to understand, meditate on, maybe work with these names and their symbols and energies.
That seems to be the clear implication. It's aimed at someone actively walking a path of spiritual development and practical esotericism, not just an armchair philosopher.
So the purpose of digging into all this detail, according to this text, is to gain practical knowledge, maybe even power, within that specific tradition. Knowledge related to understanding and potentially influencing these divine and angelic forces that govern the cosmos and the spiritual state of reality. Perhaps for that healing or rectification suggested by the Tree of Life connection.
That seems to be the context provided by that final note. It frames the entire system.
So for you listening, the real value, perhaps, of exploring this deep dive into the system presented in this source text is that it offers this incredibly intricate, specific framework from one particular tradition. It shows how they viewed the divine name, YHVH, its powers, its emanations, as 72 angels split by mercy and judgment, its mapping onto the cosmos through the zodiac, and its symbolic meaning within big narratives like the fall and the journey to Egypt. How all of that could be seen as interconnected.
It gives you, step by step, one tradition-specific blueprint for viewing the universe as this deeply structured, divinely governed place, a place that could be understood, maybe even interacted with, through the study and application of these sacred names. It presents a lens for seeing scripture, astrology, and angels, not as separate things, but as integrated parts of one divine reality.
Yeah, a worldview where everything, from the highest divine idea down to the smallest slice of the zodiac, is infused with the power of the name, encoded and revealed through systems just like this. Shem Ha-Mephoresch. Wow, okay, that really was a deep dive. We started with those foundational names, YHVH and ADNI.
Saw how the source gets to the number 72 through that symbolic math with the 24 elders and their crowns.
Right, connecting it mystically to YHVH and those healing leaves on the Tree of Life.
Then we followed that very precise, almost technical method for pulling the 72 three-letter divine names right out of those specific Exodus verses.
Using that unique alternating direction writing thing, that was wild.
And how those names then become the 72 five-letter angelic names by adding YH for mercy or AL for severity.
Giving each angel its specific quality. Then we saw how they're mapped onto the whole cosmos, every 5 degrees of the zodiac, linked to planets, grouped into choirs, and governed by the 4 letters of YHVH and the elements.
An incredibly detailed cosmic structure.
And finally, we got into that really rich, layered symbolism. linking the 72 names back to the healing lungs, identifying them with Zohar and Pin, the lamb.
And placing them in that symbolic story involving Jacob's family, the fall into Egypt as Malkuth ruled by the dragon, the roles of Joseph, Ephraim, the ox, and that whole cattle versus sheep symbolism.
All interpreted through this specific mystical lens. It really is a complete system laid out in this source divine emanation cosmic government symbolic story all woven together.
It's not just a list, it's an entire framework, a map of divine power and how it operates in the universe, according to this text.
It definitely offers a glimpse into a very specific way of seeing reality, where the divine isn't distant, but it's present, it's structured, it's active right inside the text, the numbers, the stars, the symbols.
And that mention of the seals for the Zealodar Adeptus Minor really highlights that this was presented likely as something to be studied and maybe used practically on a specific spiritual path.
Right. So here's maybe a final thought for you to ponder, something that comes right out of the heart of what this source suggests. What if? What if these incredibly powerful divine structures, the kind described as being able to heal the nations or link heaven and earth like Jacob's ladder, what if they aren't just talked about in old sacred texts, but are literally encoded within the precise sequence, the very arrangement of the letters themselves?
Like the texts aren't just stories, but blueprints.
Exactly. What if they contain these hidden schematics of divine power, just waiting there to be uncovered, decoded, expounded by those who learn how to look? Maybe through methods like the one described here.
It definitely challenges you to think about the potential depth, the multiple layers that might exist within these ancient writings, suggesting they could hold much more than just the surface narrative.
Absolutely. A truly fascinating idea to sit with. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the Shem Ha-Mephoresch, based entirely on our source material today.
Yes, thank you for exploring this intricate system with us.